Thank you, everybody, for coming here. My walk-in music is always kind of a cruel joke to our demo team who doesn't sleep before these events so that we can pack as much cool stuff in from the product for all of you to see. So we are going to cover a lot. We've been very busy this year, but one thing I wanted to point out, us as a product team, our journey does not stop when we ship a new capability to you. That's really the start of the journey. That journey begins when we put these capabilities into your hands with your creative teams to see what they can do with it. And that's really what gets us excited as a product team. Not all the bells and whistles and features, but what we actually see you do with your brands to rise above the noise and get your experience edge. So, we're going to cover the future of personalization. We're very excited about that. But it would be kind of rude to have our first European event and not bring a brand new announcement that we think is really, really exciting. We're going to show a lot, and we've been building a lot toward what you can do with Contentstack. But today we have a new announcement that's going to drastically change how you work with Contentstack. Let's take a look at a website. But I took this screenshot as an example of a website. Beautiful typography, layout, images, videos. And let's take a look at what building that website looks like in a typical headless CMS. It's a little different, right? Let's do a quick replay. Website, how you built it. Beautiful website, how you built it. So you may have kind of figured out where we're going here. So we'd like to announce to you for the first time ever the Contentstack Visual Builder. This kind of flips the paradigm. We were the first headless CMS with live preview. That put the form as still the principal creation tool, and the website is a little preview on the right. We've flipped that completely on its head. So now the authoring experience is the website, and you can still access the form on the side if you need to. Because websites are visual mediums, right? You need to be able to scroll them, interact with them, and that's just not captured when you're working in a form. So what is the Visual Builder? So the Visual Builder allows you to edit content directly in line on the website, whether that's text, images, or videos. It also allows you to create a page from scratch using blocks from your design system. So your design team, your developers are going to set you up with a library of components that you can then mix, add to the page, and update. This includes not only content in Contentstack, but also all that great third-party content that you've connected your CMS to. So that could be your DAM, your PIM, e-commerce. And we've added some great collaboration features because creation is a team sport. You all have big teams, and you want to be able to collaborate to make the best possible experiences. And we didn't create some toy off on the side where you go off into a visual builder and it's completely its own thing. We didn't acquire something and bolt it on. We built this on top of all the amazing things that you do in Contentstack today. So this is visual building plus Gen I, brand kit, personalization, automation, everything else that we do. So all of the bones that you've set up for your content management, you can now interact with completely visually. What this means is there's no trade-offs for you. If you want to build content visually, you get access to all the great things, all the content models, and the workflows that you've already set up. A couple other things to note around the previewing. What you'll be able to do is build an experience and then share that outside of the CMS with somebody that doesn't even have access to the CMS potentially to collaborate with them. So imagine, God forbid, you have to send something to your legal team for approval. They can enter a password, get to the experience, and start to annotate on the experience, leave notes and tasks for people. So you can mention your digital team, your designer. Those will all show up as tasks in the CMS. So it makes that collaborative process that sometimes falls into a mile-long email chain all really easy to do and very visual. This also preserves all the governance and permissions and workflows that you already have set up. So this isn't some sandbox where the marketing team can run wild and do whatever they want, as much as that might be appealing to some of you. If you are not allowed to edit something on a piece of content, you will not be able to. And when you are complete with that piece of content and you want to go publish it, it will go through the exact same workflows and governance that you have today. So we've really done this with enterprise needs in mind. Next up, in addition to the live editing, you can also do block-based building. So the virtuous cycle that we want to set up is that your design team and your developers are not spending time doing one-off pages. They're building reusable components. And they can set up with these components controls that you can use within your design system to further customize the look and feel of the page. And lastly, you have access to all of that great third-party data, including all of our amazing generative AI. So as you're creating, if you need some inspiration, you can pull open our AI, have it help you rewrite content, translate content, and do everything else that AI can help you with. Would you guys like to see a demo? Yeah? Okay. With that, I would like to invite up John Kelly, our Director of Product Management, for a live demo.
Thank you, Connor. Really excited to be here with you guys today. Excited to be a mile from where Gurdeep was born. That's my highlight so far. And also possibly at the set of Great British Bake Off. Does anyone know? Asking for a friend. All right. So when we have a minute, we can pop it over to my laptop here. So we have a really exciting opportunity as a marketer on the Compass Travel Company's website to basically capture an opportunity that Connor has set up with a safari company in Africa. The challenge is we have to be in market today. So we're going to go ahead and build that page. Historically, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because you might be outing yourselves for potentially embarrassing reality, but in most environments, you might have to obviously go into the entry editor, maybe before you even do that, raise a ticket with IT, negotiate with a product manager. As a product person, bribes definitely help, but that's all for you to decide. And yeah, hopefully you'll have it available to you within a day or two. In this new experience, you'll see I can just go into our visual experience. You'll see here it's our timeline experience, which basically is our visual preview. I'm going to pop over to the new builder experience, and we actually have our website here live. For the first thing we'll do, we're actually going to go ahead and create a new landing page for this experience. I'm just going to go ahead and call this Africa. Make sure I spell it right. Awesome. So now we have our stubbed out page. You'll notice this is actually the first time in Contentstack that we are introducing the concept of pages in the CMS. Historically, you were able to create content entries. Of course, those could be whole pages, but in all likelihood, a page is composed of multiple entries. So you'll see here, my header is already here for us. Our footer is already here for us. I have the opportunity now to add to the body. So I'm going to go ahead and just add one of the components that, as Connor mentioned, our design and development team has built for me. Within those components, I have a few additional options. And so first thing is we have our kind of teaser header component. We have some sample content, some default content. It could be instructional text. It could be things just to help get your teams off the ground. I'm going to go ahead and grab an image for us. And I'm going to collapse this. Looks pretty good. Of course, I can just write inline as well. So and that looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this form back open because what we can see is we have some options for styling as well. I mentioned before these components were given to us by our engineering team with approval and instruction from our design team. And I also have the ability to then create some permutations within this block. And so I can do things like have the text align top left, top center, middle center. I think I like it middle left. So we'll keep it there and we'll move on. I'm actually going to go ahead and add one more block quickly here, text and image, and we'll jump down to where we see that. Of course, I can do my editing inline as well. And I'll just say, explore the African coast. And I will add one more image here as well. You'll notice I actually have a custom field. It's an integration with Cloudinary. So we can actually also, building this page, compose this using third-party data as well. So I'm going to go over to a collection we have, grab this image, insert it directly from Cloudinary. And so we're actually composing this experience not just with content from Contentstack, but from other third parties as well, and doing it all visually. Looks pretty good. I can add some CTAs here if I need to, but I'm going to go ahead and add one more block. I do want to actually mention some styling options I have available to me as well. Again, all the permutations within this component were already given to me by our engineering team and our design team, so I can do things like rotate image right, image left. I also have the option for some themes, and so I have light theme. I also have dark theme. I like the dark theme, and I actually think I like the image on the right. So I'm going to keep that there. I can collapse this. You'll notice I actually have the ability to add more sections inline as well. So I'll add a card collection, and you'll see again I have some default text available to me. It looks fine. I have some options on the right-hand side here on our little quick form, and I can actually just add one of two cards. Again, you'll see some default text pop in. Really, really handy to kind of help me orient me and tell me where I can be and what I can do. I'm going to change this, and we'll just say food in Africa. I'm going to grab a new image and drop it in there for African cuisine. And of course, I can just say great African food. I know I'm in marketing, but I'm not doing a great job of this. But you'll notice as well, these blocks are location aware. So they are aware of the opportunities to add more elements adjacent to them as well. So in this case, I have the opportunity to add one more block to the right of this block, and it'll go ahead and instantiate that second one, again, adhering to our branding, our styling, and all of the rules contained therein. For this block, I'm just going to go ahead and add one more image here, and we'll call this African sunset. Awesome. Looks pretty good. I've now created this entire page from scratch. I will actually also just update our headline and save and deploy. Awesome. So that page is now live. We can start driving ads to it. We can start using it. I can send a link out. I can navigate to it right now. I will do one more thing, and I actually am going to pop into the entry editor really briefly. Reason being is that we actually have some background data here that's powering our navigation, our information architecture, sitemap, et cetera. So really helpful for us that I can just use this to really quickly create, since this page is so important to us, add a slot for it in our main here in navigation. So I'm just going to go ahead and create this really quickly. I do need to associate that article landing page that we just created. So I'm going to do that right there, and I'll click visit, publish this, and send it off. Awesome. So we do actually have a live web page running with this, and if I do a quick refresh, you'll see in regions we have Africa, that new element we added to our main navigation, and when I click into this, we'll see Adventurous Africa with all the content that we just wrote. Back to you.
Thank you very much, John. Always exciting to see a live demo on stage. So what did we just see? Are we back on John's machine? There it is. So what we saw was page building without any involvement from IT. They did help set up our components and set us up for success. We saw using those branded components to build something from scratch. And we saw how you can integrate third-party data. In this case, we pulled assets from our DAM, but that could be anything else that you're using. So this is our new foundation for delivering personalization. So we've been talking about personalization a lot this year and how important it is and how big the gap is between companies that want to do personalization and how many are able to. And one theme that we have for our product development is blank that you can actually use. Personalization you can actually use. Visual building you can actually use. AI that you can actually use. So let's talk specifically about personalization and why we have such bad customer outcomes and how people are not doing it as much as they would like. So we spent a lot of time with you, our customers. We looked around at every other way that people are trying to do personalization. We found that it comes down to three main things. And these stop you from doing personalization at scale. Maybe you can just do a page here or there, but we really need to be able to do it at scale. So the first is you often end up with the fragmented content production where you're trying to bolt on some third-party personalization. You end up splitting your content between the two. They have different workflows, different logins. Or you need to go back to your tech team anytime you want to spin up a new personalized page or run a new test. And if you have to do that every single time, that means you're going to do less of it and you're not going to scale. Number two, now that you can do personalization, you're suddenly going to have 10 times more content to create, or 20 times, however many segments you're authoring content for. And we're not going to have the budget to expand our teams 10 or 20 times. So riding in on the white horse is generative AI. Great. But now there's this new term where you say, I bet that was written by AI, right? Like that you can just kind of sniff it out. So when we're just using AI out of the box, we all sound like we're using AI out of the box. And that's that mediocre content that Gurdeep was talking about that costs us nothing. So if we really want to make generative AI our ally and help us scale content, it needs to be on brand and it needs to speak in our voice. And lastly, personalization and optimization need to be built into the authoring experience. It needs to be something that you do as you're creating the content. Because if you build a new experience and say, hey, I'll get to the personalization part later, guess what? There will be no later. You'll be on to the next thing, and you'll have that experience out there without any personalization. So we need to figure out how do we build this into our day-to-day content operations so it's not an afterthought. So we think that we've solved this problem of scale. And if we want to look at what scale looks like, this is our scary scale slide. This is a typical large enterprise, the number of geos, the number of personas that they're trying to reach. You multiply this out, and even one piece of content can have almost 300 variants. And you might think, okay, this is an extreme example. This is just for one piece of content. Think about all the touch points on your customer journey. So this is the challenge that we set out to solve. And the first way we've done that is with Contentstack Personalize. So Contentstack Personalize is our personalization and testing solution. We announced it this summer, and we're going to be getting it into your hands in the next week or two in October. What does it do? First, segmented personalization and multivariate testing. We do this with a very cool engine for creating variants of content and combining those different variants of content. This is something we actually filed for a patent for because of how darn cool it is. And lastly, we've brought all of that into the authoring experience that you use today. So if you can use Contentstack, you can do personalization. That was really important to us, that we didn't make some other thing that you had to learn separate from how you work today. So if we look at a screenshot, and this is actually the old way of working, you're going to see this all done visually. This is our entry editor, and what you see there with little purple designations are only the pieces of content that have changed for a particular variant. So we're not making copies of all the content and losing control of updates and everything like that. You can create a variant and just change one piece of text, one image, one block, or the entire page. And that's all going to inherit the rest from the base entry. We've also made it really easy to construct and target these audiences. So we did not build a CDP. We do not require you to do anything different than you're doing with customer data today. What we do is import segments from your CDP into Contentstack. And from those, you can build audiences with those attributes and experiences with those audiences. So we sit on the backbone of your customer data strategy today. We don't require any PII or anything like that. So that's problem number one. How are you actually going to be able to do the personalization? That's personalize and variance. Number two, how are we going to help you with all that content? And for that, we have BrandKit. BrandKit is our on-brand generative AI solution. So this is what's going to make the difference between a generic LLM in today's digital world, blah, 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 and have the LLM actually speak your voice and know about your company. There are two components to it. The first is your Knowledge Vault. Your Knowledge Vault is a combination of a bunch of text from your CMS that you've sent in to basically create a database of information about your products and your services. We pair that with voice profiles. And this is the how you want to speak. So you can have a different tone of voice for social, for corporate, for your technical documentation. And when you combine these two, you get drastically better results from generative AI. So if we take a look at our current AI assistant, this is a screenshot of it in the CMS. In addition to just interacting with the LLMs directly, and you can use any one you want, we're composable, we don't have any preference for that. You can then layer on your Knowledge Vault. So this is the what you want the LLM to know about. You can also layer on the voice profile that you'd like to use. This is the how you'd like it to say it. And when used in combination with your audiences and personalize, you can now add who you're trying to reach. And so each of these layers of context makes the AI better and better and more usable and less prone to any kind of hallucinations or errors. So this is how we really believe that we can bring generative AI to enterprises like yours that have invested in your brand and don't want to dilute that. So that's number two. How are we going to help you author all the content? And number three, how do we operationalize this and make it repeatable? This is where our Automate product comes in. So Automate is our low or no code integration and automation product. You guys have been using it for awesome stuff for the last couple of years since we announced it. However, we've now supercharged it by connecting it to generative AI. So what this means is that you can have Automate, have the LLMs do things on your behalf in the background and do them through BrandKit. So, as an example, we might want to, every time we create a new piece of content, have Automate loop through each of our audiences, use BrandKit to rewrite that content for those audiences, and then it can drop it in a review state. So when I come in the morning, all I have to do is review all those new variants of content. So this is what's going to help you make this repeatable and help you reach that scary 288 variant number. So there's a lot of things playing together here. We're a platform. Each of these is a piece of clay that you can work with. But when you combine them, that's where you can get really incredible outcomes and finally meet that need to get above the noise and to do it at scale. Also, the easiest way to bring AI into your organization is to make sure it has guardrails. So we have fantastic workflows, and we feel like the best way to bring AI in is to bring it into the light. You know, right now we're all just going to ChatGPT. We're not telling the company, we're pasting it somewhere. That's not the way to do it. So with BrandKit and our governance, this is finally how you can bring AI into your organizations safely. So that's the third pillar. How is this going to be repeatable? How are you actually going to keep up with doing this every single day? You guys want to see a really crazy demo of all this in action? Yeah? All right, I'm going to get out of the way. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Connor. All right, let's load up our visual builder again. So we just created our landing page for our new opportunity, Adventurous Africa, which is great. We want a way to really drive people to that experience, right? So what we're going to do is actually now use Personalize to create a personalized version of this homepage that you're seeing here, so that when visitors expressed interest in travel to Africa and being adventurous, we're going to go ahead and actually retarget them on the homepage to really double down on that experience and give them a way to actually link directly into that landing page, so we know that they can have a really high opportunity to convert to that experience. So first thing we'll do, we'll go to Personalize. And what you'll see actually is when you get access to Personalize, it is a new app in Contentstack. When we go into Personalize itself, you'll see our projects list. Everything in Contentstack is project-based. As soon as we jump into our project here, you'll see our experiences list. And so I'm just going to do like a quick kind of 1-minute tour of the product itself. Of experiences, as Connor mentioned, we have the opportunity to create a segmentation experience or an A/B test. We also have our audiences list. Audiences are basically a combination of first and third-party attributes, third-party coming from potential sources like a CDP, for example. In this case, we actually have segment.io connected here. I actually have that synced to this Africa segment that I already created ahead of time, basically helping to populate the attributes needed to actually identify visitors as a member of this Africa segment. Our attributes is just a list of all those third-party attributes. I can create them here using the UI or an API or an integration from a third party. And finally, events are used to measure conversions for your A/B test, and this can be added to your application really anywhere that's measurable using JavaScript. So first thing we'll do is pop into our personalization experience. We'll go to our configuration tab, and I'm actually going to go ahead and create a draft of our new experience. So we'll call this Adventurous Africa. And for our audience selection, I'm going to go ahead and select our Africa segment, as well as our Adventurous Traveler segment. So we're basically going to be targeting this experience to visitors who express an interest in Africa and adventurous travel. We'll go ahead and save that. Turn that live. Audience impersonation tab. So what this does is it allows us to step into the shoes of any of our audiences and actually directly edit the experience for that audience. So it's exactly what they will see as they're going to see it. And I can really just put myself into their shoes and, importantly, step through all the different variations of the content as well. So when I select Africa and Adventure, you'll notice a few things happen. Number one, there's a little note that's telling me what I'm currently editing. Number two, there's some highlights around the various divs in my system. I've also successfully, on our segment for personalization, satisfied the conditions to select this experience. So that's actually why I'm able to edit that right now. Also, for my A/B test, you'll remember I did target this test for this experience, and so I'm actually able to now toggle through all the different combinations for this A/B test. And so, for example, this find out more CTA, if I want it to be more adventurous, let's go, or more fun, sounds fun. I'll keep it here. That sounds good. I'm going to pop back into my builder, into the canvas, I should say. And I want to do, the first thing is change the background image. So I'll choose an existing image from our asset manager, and we'll go ahead and rewrite that. Also, I want to rewrite their headline here. So we'll just say, visit Adventurous Africa. Looks good. I do want to do one more thing to the CTA. I want to actually change where this points to. So I can go ahead and select that landing page that we created earlier today. Awesome. And last thing I want to do is I want to change this kind of subhead. It's a little long, and I don't want to type all those words out, so I'm actually going to go ahead and invoke our writing assistant. So when I do that, you'll see when it pops up, I have a few options available to me. So the first, as Connor mentioned, is our brand kit, basically giving a semantic summary of the brand's background information to the large language model when I'm actually asking it for a response. Also in the voice of, in this case, a marketer. So I have, in this case, I have the marketer profile, choose my brand kit, toggle on the knowledge vault. Also, notably, I have the ability to, and actually let me do one thing. I'm going to move over to my segmentation experience, and I'll save that. There we go. And I pop back to my entry form, and I can click into this and the content. And now I'm seeing the last item here is our personalization segment. And I'm actually including not just the definitions of the audience, but also the attributes as well into the prompt itself. So it's basically prompting the large language model to say, hey, here is the definition of the Africa segment. Here's the definition of the adventurous traveler segment. Include that as you're making your response. And so what I can do here now is say personalize for this segment. It's going to take that standard text from our base entry, rewrite that using the brand kit and the background information contained on the knowledge vault, as well as basically the personalization segments as well. If everyone could get off TikTok and Instagram, that'd be great. You're hogging the bandwidth.
I blame OpenAI. $150 billion company can't keep their APIs up. It's fantastic.
No kidding. Okay, we'll come back and see if that wants to give us a response here pretty soon. But in the meantime, I will go ahead and save this, and we'll go ahead and get this deployed. Send that off, and when we come back to our live web page, pop back to our Africa region, this is now going to basically tell our cell personalized that me as a visitor is interested in adventurous travel and travel to Africa, and therefore when I pop back to our homepage, we can see I'm targeted now with our new experience, Explore Adventurous Africa, with a CTA linking back to that landing page. And thank you. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about timeline, actually. At ContentCon in June, this was one of the things that we sort of buried in the demo and the keynote, but it actually got the most thunderous applause of anything. So on our preview mode, we actually not only have the ability to, of course, step into the shoes of those audiences, we actually have the ability to step forward in time as well. So this is not just like showing what a single entry is going to look like in the future. We're actually seeing exactly what our entire application is going to look like in the future. So we're actually computing all the changes for every asset and entry, all the data in Contentstack from today's date to the date you select. So in this case, September 26th, we have an event for Oktoberfest in Munich. I can also select an arbitrary date as well if I want to say, hey, what is this going to look like in early November, for example. It's going to go ahead and compute all those changes from today's date until that date and re-render the entire application using that sample data. Also, I can compare those. So I can say, hey, I want to compare today's date or any other event in the future with the date that I'm targeting and give me a highlight of those differences right in line as well. So really, really handy as you're getting your teams to produce more, be more scalable, widen their bandwidth. They can also start to work farther ahead and really plan out those campaigns, those experiences, not just for your base content, but also for all of your audiences. So seeing any experience for any audience at any point in the future. Awesome. Back to you, Connor.
So we just saw a fantastic demo. We saw what happens when you lose internet during a demo. But what did we see? We saw John go to a page, impersonate an audience, and then just start building content for them, completely visually. We saw how you can layer on A/B testing to that as well. We saw BrandKit, which was aware of the page I was on, my company, my voice, and the audience, suddenly be a writing assistant that I can actually use. We saw the ability to impersonate those audiences. It can get very complicated when you have a lot of segments. And previewing into the future. So I could schedule all of my marketing campaigns and then go on vacation. Nobody would notice. And all of this can be automated using Automate. Couple last announcements I'll go through quickly. We did relaunch our academy. We built this on Contentstack. This is filled with a lot of great content about Contentstack, not about Contentstack. It is free for all. You can log in with your Contentstack account to save your progress, or you can just browse for inspiration. We did add a Discord community. This is a great place to connect with other practitioners, so we definitely recommend going in there. You can ask other people how they've solved certain problems and get ideas. And lastly, we do have this concept of an AI accelerator. And we know that it can be difficult to find AI use cases with all of the great AI tools that we have. So we constructed a program that includes licenses to all of our AI capabilities. It includes academy courses that we built just for this program. It also includes live consultation with our Contentstack and AI experts. And this is designed for you to go from, I'm not using AI at all the way to production use cases in about 45 days. And we have a fantastic customer after me that went through this program is going to talk about it a little bit. So next steps, please enjoy the show. Hopefully the power will be on for the majority of it. Do some networking. I've always found that is the most value that people get from these events, not listening to me, but talking to each other. We do have an innovation station in the back left where you can get live demos and ask questions from our experts. We have our amazing partners in the back right. When you get back, please install that writing assistant. It is free. You can opt into our AI Accelerator promotion. Attendees here will get a special promotion for that, and start thinking about your personalization strategy. And then in October, both Personalize and the Visual Builder will be available. So you can start setting up Personalize, and you can start building visually. So with that, thank you for your attention. Thank you for waiting through the break. And I will hand you back to Jasmine. Thank you.